In today's video, I'm sharing one of my absolute favorite things, and that is a painting that is beautiful in its simplicity and totally approachable whether you're a novice or an accomplished artist. What's up? Welcome back. My name is Shayda Campbell, and today's project is happening in my sketchbook. This sketchbook is home to my little series titled 50 Ways to Fill a Sketchbook, and I've shared all these different projects. There's YouTube videos for all of them. Head to my channel homepage to check out the playlist, or just check the video description. For today, we're going to do this really colorful autumn bouquet. And the bouquet, I think it's so approachable because it uses a sort of forced perspective. So what we do is we draw a big circle. That's where all the flowers are going to sit. And then we kind of place this tiny circle down below, and that's the vase. It looks like the flowers are just popping out of this vase, and it looks like the flowers, the really beautiful, important element, is much closer to the viewer than the tiny, not so important vase. It's a simple setup. And here's what you're going to need. You've got your watercolor sketchbook. You've got maybe a number 8 or a number 6 round brush, 2 glasses of clean water, paper towel for blotting your brush, and then the colors I am using. Grab some yellow ochre or something like a raw sienna. Those are those really deep, rich, autumny type yellows. I'm also going to use a magenta, or like this one in the Muñoz set is called Crimson Lake, and I like to mix that with violet. I'm also going to mix in a little Van Dyke brown, and we'll put a little yellow orange on the palette, and maybe mix that with a bit of light red. So we're getting an autumn color palette together here. I might put a little bit of white into that orange as well. But so far the colors you want are something like a magenta, a yellow ochre, a light red, and we're going to contrast and complement all these warm colors by using a periwinkle. So I've mixed purple with light blue, and then I'm also going to use just the light blue straight out of the cake of paint. And I also have Van Dyke brown on the palette there as well. So those are the colors if you're following along. And then finally, I do want to add a few white flowers to the bouquet. So I will scrub at that white cake of paint with the wet brush, bring the white over to the palette, and then I'll just mix in like a little hint of that Van Dyke brown so that I get this nice light beigey color. And that'll be just the thing for painting white flowers. With that done, I freshened up my water. I'm gonna light a candle, grab a cup of tea, and we're going to begin this really chill, relaxing painting. It's so simple, and like I said in the beginning, it's beautiful in its simplicity. So you can just enjoy the process and don't worry about the small stuff or the details. Start by drawing a circle with very light pencil in the center of the page. Then we're going to grab some of that yellow ochre on our brush, and we are going to paint 2 large yellow daisies, kind of like a black-eyed Susan. As you begin painting, I want you to think about 2 things. First, you're going to keep the flowers fairly large. Nothing should be too small or tiny. And second, you don't need to create or paint any tiny little details. That kind of sounds like the same point twice, but they're slightly different. Just keep everything kind of large and kind of simple. The idea here is that it's supposed to be easy, but also, as I said in the beginning, this is beautiful in its simplicity, so we want everything to look kind of graphic. If you do paint some flowers that are smaller, not small, but smaller, like the asters here, it's a great idea to cluster them so that they kind of have a bigger presence on the page. Once you've painted those asters and the daisies, we can add some brown to the center of the yellow black-eyed Susan, and we can add a little bit of orange to the center of those little asters. Next, I want to add a white flower right in the middle. So you can see I have this beigey color. I actually think I added a little bit of French gray to that beige. But you basically want a light gray or a light beige, and I just did a really simple 4-petal flower. Then I added a little more brown, and I released that darker beige in the center. From there, I'm going to paint a second white flower. I mixed a little extra brown in, so this one will be slightly darker, but it's still going to look like white, even though it's not. And I kind of did a similar shape to those first two flowers. You don't have to come up with a ton of different shapes for these flowers. Again, keep it simple. A lot of them can be daisies. A lot of them can be those big 4-petal flowers. Now, as I start to paint some pinks and reds, I'm kind of just doing these big messy circles. It's sort of like a dahlia or a marigold. I paint a messy circle, and then I kind of make sure that the edges are ruffled so that it does look like a flower. I added a little magenta to the white and kind of got that lighter color. Then I'm taking the orange and I'm just painting a cluster of small circles, and it doesn't look like any one flower, but it doesn't not look like a flower. So keep it simple, simple shapes, large shapes, and repeat the asters, repeat the black-eyed Susan. We don't want a lot of different flowers here. That's part of this being a very simple, graphic, yet stunning piece. And we'll add a little bit of that Van Dyke brown to the center of those white flowers. From here, I think have painted all the flowers we need to. And the next step is really fun. We're just going to add leaves, and we're going to do that in a single color. And the color that I have chosen is light blue. And if you're using the Munoz set, that is the name of the color, light blue. And all we're going to do is frame the flowers. So you can see here I'm doing little lines to kind of hint at stems. I'm just filling in some areas blue so that it looks like there are some leaves sitting in behind. And I am framing the flowers on the outside of the circle as well with some nice pointed leaf shapes. Some are small, some are large, and just kind of making sure that I go around and add leaves anywhere that looks nice and looks natural, and try to just vary the size and shape a little bit, but just like the flowers, keep it simple. Hey gang, I've got a birthday coming up this month. It's my e-course's 3rd birthday. Yes, my little watercolor e-course has been out in the world for 3 years, and so many of you have had such huge success with it. I've gotten the most wonderful comments telling me how much you've learned and how your confidence has grown. If you're interested in taking this e-course, it's only $49 and it's available for a lifetime on my website, shaydacampbell.com. Check it out after today's video. The formula here is make sure that the entire pencil circle that you first drew is filled in with lots of light blue, and then you want leaves popping off on the perimeter. Once that's done, we're going to paint that little tiny vase below. So take that gray, like a French gray, and we're just going to draw a tiny little circle, or kind of like a circle, with a line across the top where it meets those stems. And I like to do a little double line, helps give the look of glass. Then I'm going to rinse that brush with a clean, wet brush. I'm going to blend and blur those lines a little bit. Also, I'm going to wet the entirety of that vase area, and then finally grab a little bit of light blue while the area is lightly wet, and we're just going to paint a few lines for stems. And of course, it's going to blend and blur because the paper was wet, and it looks so nice, and it was so simple. Okay, now that is done, our very last step is simply to add some contrast on the flowers. So if they're looking a little flat, they need a bit more detail and contrast. All you have to do is darken up some of your colors, maybe add a little of the Van Dyke brown to the yellow ochre, add a little bit of the red or purple to the magenta, and we're just going to, add some details. Here I'm kind of drawing in, scribbling almost in the dahlias. I added some magenta to my orange, and I just put a few dots on those upper orange flowers. I added some more violet to the periwinkle that I had mixed and put a few dots and lines on the asters. Same thing with the darker gray. You can sketch and doodle, or you can just add some dots and lines, play around and have fun with it. And then before you know it, that's it. This graphic autumn floral is something you can achieve in under half an hour. Give it a try. I know you'll be successful with it. Want to support this channel? Head over to Patreon, because this painting is available as a pretty phone backdrop, and it's only $2 a month to join, or $22 for the year, and you get tons of bonus content. Also, before you head out, hit that subscribe button. It means so much to me, and I'm almost at 1 million. Thanks for being here. I'll see you soon.